All right, so welcome. Go ahead and move yourself back to your backs if you aren't already there. We're going to start this Hatha practice today, reclined on our backs. Today's class is taking place on April 22nd, which is Earth Day. And under normal circumstances, I would have had a special Earth Day practice for you guys today at Friedman Park. We were supposed to meet outside tonight and have a wonderful outdoor practice. And I'm sad that I can't have that, but I do know that I will be at Friedman this summer. I'm gonna make it happen. We're gonna get some more classes in the park. But today I'm going to open our class with a little reading. This intention or this power thought comes from Louise Hay's Power Thought cards. And it says, I am connected to all life. I can either help to destroy the planet or heal it. Every day I choose to send loving, healing energy to the planet. What I do with my mind makes a difference. I can either help to destroy the planet or heal it. Every day I choose to send loving, healing energy to the planet. What I do with my mind makes a difference. Today's class is going to have inside of it a few nature-themed poses. A little historical tidbit about yoga is that a lot of the poses evolved out of mimicking things that we see in nature. So as you rest on your back with your eyes closed, I want you to take a little bit of time to visualize what beauty you see in nature. What backdrop would you like to practice in front of today? What place do you see as beautiful? Whether it be mountains or beach or an open prairie, gorgeous lake. See what you can imagine with your mind's eye and take yourself there. Listen for the sounds that you might hear. See if you can smell or taste. And then, of course, allow your mind to imagine what you can see in this beautiful landscape. Let your breath start to match this natural state, this place that you've visited. Maybe your breath feels like the waves of the ocean or the wind in the trees, the breeze coming off the lake. Whatever picture you have in your mind, allow your breath to become part of that landscape. Now start to allow your body to join this visualization that you have. Start adding some gentle movements in and out. Maybe that is something as simple as opening and closing the hands, wiggling the toes, stretching the arms up overhead or bending the knees. Just allow your body to start having whatever natural movements make the most sense. Don't let go of the beauty that you see with your eyes closed. Come back to this safe space anytime you feel a little anxious today. And then we'll let these knees come in if they haven't already. Bring them up towards the belly, towards the chest, hands coming around the fronts. Just give yourself a nice big hug. Right knee stays hugged into the chest. Allow the left foot to extend up towards the ceiling. Point and flex the toes. Roll around the ankles. And then switch sides. Other knee brings in, other leg extends. Point and flex the toes. Eyes can stay closed, or maybe your gaze is just nice and gentle up towards the ceiling. Perfect. Both knees into the chest. Give yourself a little rocking right and left. And then extend both heels, both feet up towards the sky. Hands maybe this time on the backs of the legs. Right knee comes back into your chest one more time. Left heel finds extension. And then switch out sides. Right leg extends, left knee hugs in. Point and flex. Then send this left heel back up towards the sky. Both feet are elevated, point and flex. Perfect. As you feel ready, these knees come back into chest and we just rock a little bit side to side. Plant the feet onto the ground, heels just below or just behind the glutes. Hands on either sides of the hips. And when you feel ready, a nice strong inhale lifts these hips up off the ground. Belly button angled up towards the sky, resting the back of the head on the earth. Bridge pose. Maybe with the mind's eye closed, you imagine different things floating underneath the bridge. Watch as the trickle of the stream moves across your mat, heading to the other side. Inhale, breath lifts heels up off the ground, and then just start to lower down one vertebra at a time. The last thing to hit the mat is going to be your heels. Walk the soles of the feet to find one another. Inhale, breath brings hands up overhead. Stretch them long on the mat. Knees open out to the side. As you exhale, bring these hands back forward. Feet stand back up. Inhale, knees fall open. Hands extend. Arms extend. Exhale, breath, stand the knees back up, hands come back forward. Last one, knees opening out to the side, getting that length for your spine. Beautiful work. Exhale, stand these knees back up. When you feel ready, bring the knees back into the chest one more time. Rock side to side. And then we're going to move ourselves up. So I'm going to start to initiate a little rocking forward and back on my spine. Maybe 2 or 3 of these today. Maybe you get a little bigger, a little more aggressive in your rocking. And then bring yourself up to seat. Go ahead and open immediately into a bound angle if that feels okay. Soles of the feet touch, knees fall out to the side, spine gets nice and tall. As you exhale, bring your nose slightly down towards your toes. Inhale, pull the spine back up. Take it easy, 2 more. Just a little bit of space created in those hips. And then back up. If this feels too big, bring the feet away from the pelvis. Create more of a diamond shape. Perfect. Go ahead and remove yourself from that position. Bring your legs into a crisscross. I'm going to turn forward just so I can see you a little better. Hands reaching out towards the sides of my mat. Spine is nice and tall. Right ear moves towards right shoulder. Inhale, breath, head comes back up over spine. Take your time. Left ear moves towards left shoulder. Inhale, head comes back up over spine. When you're ready, right ear to right shoulder, and then pause here. You might even bring your right hand up. Just let it rest on the top of the head. Excellent. Bring that hand down. Head comes up tall. Let's go the other way. Perfect. Hand comes back down. Go ahead and walk the hands forward in front of you. Let the spine sit tall. And then slide the hands and just let them rest on the knees. A little bit of flexion breath. So as your inhale comes through, you might even feel your hands slide back towards your hip creases, your chin lifts. As you exhale, round the back. Just a few more times, just like this. In and out. Connect this with the breath in the body. In and out. Coming back up to a nice tall spine. Inhale, breath reaches hands up above the head. Exhale, let them settle into heart. One more. Reach for length. Settle back in. All right, from here, we're gonna just move into tabletop position. If you need to put a blanket underneath your knees, feel free to kind of set up whatever positioning feels best to you. Wrists underneath shoulders, knees under hips. Maybe a little side-to-side rocking feels good to start here. Maybe you want to play around with a little bit of weight in the wrists, sit back to heels, and then kind of shift that forward. If you've been working at a computer or gardening, painting, housework, anything that's been kind of making your arms sore, your wrists sore, let's go ahead and roll those wrists. Flip the palms to face up towards you. Maybe place the heels of the hand down on the mat, fingertips pointing back, and then switch. Just some gentle movements to kind of feel alive and open in those hands and wrists. And then when you feel ready, let's just take a couple cat-cows. So once you've had time to play there, tap into that breath once more, belly finding the earth on your inhale, chin lifts, tail lifts. Exhale is a rounded back, rounded spine. So just keep moving. And your pattern of breath, depending on what music you're listening to or what vibe you're feeling today, might be a little slower or maybe even a little faster than what I'm showing, and that's okay. Next time you get to that angry cat spine, go ahead and sit your hips back onto your heels. Take your first child's pose or rock pose of today's practice, putting your hips back as far as they want to go. Maybe even bring your hands back here and look for your heels. Forehead might drop down into the ground. Just a full surrendering of chest and belly down to earth. Any tension in the eyebrows or the forehead can be worked out. Just allowing your head to sway a little bit on the mat. And then we'll walk these hands back forward, adding length again through those arms. And bring yourself back up to table. Right foot is going to extend nice and long down your mat. See if you can extend this left arm forward, bird dog or balancing table. Take a full round of breath here. Inhale, long and lean. Exhale, elbow and knee look for one another. Find that length and then find your strength. Length and strength. Give yourself about 2 more of those. Next time the hand comes down to earth, we're going to take this leg that's been behind us, bring the toes down to mat, curl toes under, lift hips, long spine, half down dog. Knee drops itself back down to mat. Spinning on this knee, bring it so it faces behind you. Peel the arms up, gate pose. Inhaling from here, take this hand all the way down to the floor. Reach opposite hand to the sky, maybe even pointing the fingers up and over. Long body, side plank. From that side plank, hand that's been in the sky starts to circle down. Look for the mat. Spin yourself around, downward facing dog. Toes curl under, place them on the mat. Gaze is back towards the heels or the ankles. Body is long. Seeing that mountain peak, hips lifted high, imagining your spine like the peaks of a mountain. Taking time, we'll drop back down to knees, balancing table other side. This time, right hand extends long, left toes are long, body is nice and flat. Just a nice full breath here. Link through fingers and toes, exhale, strength, pull those two in to meet one another. So just take your time. Move with the shape that works for you, knowing that this is quite a bit of test of balance and that where your gaze is very important. So make sure that you're gazing just a couple inches off in front of that hand that's on the ground. Knowing that at any point in time this becomes a little too challenging, you can put both hands on the ground, take one of the balancing elements out, and just operate with the low body. Give yourself one more. Hand comes back down to earth, toes on that lifted leg, look for the ground. Curl toes under, half down dog. You've got one straight leg, one bent knee. Bringing that bent knee down to the earth, we'll swing it slightly back behind us. Start to peel the chest up, looking for gate pose. Falling down towards that long extended leg. Taking the hand that's been in the air, let it sweep and move itself down here towards the earth. Opposite hand starts to reach up or maybe come near ear. Now, one of the key points to remember is that this wrist that's on the floor is not directly underneath my shoulder joint. It's slightly out so that I can push a little bit through the heel of that hand, really allowing my tricep to do some of the work. Perfect. Hand that's been in the sky starts to spiral and bring itself down to earth as I twist around and build my downward facing dog. Mountain peak again as you imagine and see those hips lifted nice and high towards the ceiling. Go ahead and walk out your dog, bending the knees, pedaling the feet, gazing back towards those toes. Wonderful work. Take your time. Feet start to move themselves up towards your hands. First forward fold of this practice. Head is heavy down to the ground. You might even bend your knees to really get your spine flat. Next natural inhale, come up halfway, pause. Exhale, fold. Plant those feet, big inhale, hands start to reach and look for the ceiling. Exhale, bring the hands to heart. Playing with our first sun salutation, inhale, reach hands to extended mountain pose. Let them touch above the head. Exhale, hinge and fold, hands moving down towards the floor. Inhale, come up halfway, long extended spine. Exhale, hands look for earth. Both feet are gonna step back to the back of the mat. Put yourself in either plank pose or half plank, maybe a slight cat lift right in between the shoulder blades keeps you from dropping that belly down towards earth. Exhale, bend at the elbows, knees are gonna kiss. Knees, chest, chin, looking for the earth. Give yourself a little cobra. Removing yourself from that cobra, knees might find the ground again as you lift up into downward facing dog. Once you get that down dog, give it some space, move it around again, knees bend, pushing those hips towards that wall behind you. Just as we did before, small steps or a large leap or step to the front of the mat, half lifting, long spine. Exhale, fold to the feet. Inhale, reach these hands as high as they can go, extended mountain pose. Hands come down and grace your heart. Find a breath here, nice fluid, full inhale, and then just release. Good work. From here, we'll reach hands back up one more time above the head. Exhale, fold down towards the toes. Right foot is going to step towards the back of the mat, and then we're just going to drop this right knee down into the earth. Toenails touch the ground. Ease your way up this front knee, and find your shoulders in a state of rest. Let them fall down your spine. We're going to put just a little bit more force into this front knee so we can get a little more length out of that back leg. My shoulders are relaxed. Now the knee that you've got bent, that hand's going to stay right there. Opposite hand's going to look for length and lift up towards the ceiling. When you're ready, this hand that's in the sky is just going to tip over just slightly to reach over your head towards that bent knee. Beautiful work. Start to stand this hand up. It's going to move back down towards the ground, and we're going to release from this pose by putting a little bit of weight into that back knee and bringing toes up towards the ceiling. Half monkey or half split. Playing with where your toes are shifts this stretch around. So when my toes are flexed, I feel a lot on the back side of the leg. When my toes are pointed, it shifts here into the front side. Just kind of play with what feels like it's really getting into your sweet spots, spots that you need a little more attention. And then take your time. This foot moves itself back. We'll shift it back here, and then switch sides. Opposite foot comes forward. Get comfortable on that back knee. Graduate up to this knee. Shoulders relax, spine is tall, and then just put just a little bit more love forward with the hips into this front knee. Looking for length all the way up this back leg. Now you can see that on my back foot, my toenails are flat to the earth. That makes my balancing have to work a little harder. If you choose to curl your toes under, that's an option. Sometimes that can make you feel a little bit more grounded. But I personally like the toenails flat. Now the same knee that's bent, that hand's gonna stay relaxed. Opposite arm adds length again. Make it nice and tall up near your head. And then just give it a slight lean over to that opposite side. Lots of side body openness here. Perfect. This hand starts to come back towards center, moves its way down towards the earth, both hands looking for the ground. That slight shift as we move some hands back. Now, of course, if you had blocks, this would be a place you can put some blocks in your hands, give your spine a little bit of relief here. But you can do just as you did before, kind of play around with what's happening in the shin and the calf. All right, friends, hands moving back forward. This foot's gonna shift back to the back of the mat. Child's pose, puppy pose, or downward facing dog. If you're unsure what a puppy pose is, it's a nice hybrid between the two. You're on your knees, but you walk your hands further forward. You keep your hips slightly lifted, and you get more length out of your back. So that looks like a down dog with your knees on the ground versus a child's pose that's much flatter down to the earth. Lifting into that down dog if you aren't already there. And then we'll just start to take those same small steps, feet up towards hands, but then this time I want you to bring your hands towards your legs. I'm gonna peel around and see if my hands can look for the backs of my calves, but my head is really heavy. So in order to do this, to protect my back, I have a decent bend in my knees. If once you get into that state, you feel like you could straighten the knees a little bit, maybe lift your tail, The stretch should be pretty big up the back side of your body, but nothing really in your lumbar spine. If it's hanging out right here in your lumbar, soften those knees again. You're not quite ready yet. Softening from that, hands slide back towards toes or the floor. Big inhale, reach the hands up overhead, extended mountain, just as we've done before. Hands looking for the ceiling. Exhale this to heart. All right, friends, putting ourselves in just a traditional mountain. Hands right here to the chest. I'm not sure what I'm doing today, but my music keeps getting louder and louder. All right, hands right in here to the heart. Placing your right foot nice and grounded down into the earth. Just a basic tree, nothing too fancy with this posture. Just focusing on that standing leg being so important, outer hip really hanging in there, other knee is turned slightly outward to the side. Maybe the hands look for T today, something different, or they can do that extended mountain up over your head. If, as you feel comfortable in that kickstand, you graduate to inner calf or inner thigh or half lotus, wherever your practice may be today, great. Take your focus off of your screen. I want you to look at something else out in your space. Get your eyes away from me and find something to fix your attention on that's not moving. Stay within that space for 2 more full breaths. Next natural inhale, hands come into heart from wherever they've been. Start to turn this knee forward, and then we're just gonna add something a little different today. So as you exhale, I want you to kick this foot out, inhale, pull it in. Just give yourself a couple of those, matching with breath. Now your standing leg should be angry. It's really having to work. Perfect, last one. Bring that foot down to earth, separate the feet. If you're on your mat facing forward, great. If you want to turn sideways to have a little bit more space, go for it. I'm going to take my feet even wider on my mat. I'm going to take a slight out turn of my toes. And when I lunge to the right, when that right knee bends, I'm going to lift my left hand up over the top of my body, almost like a side angle, and then I'm going to switch. Now I'm watching these knees, making sure they're not taking too big of a shape. A lot of work in that side body. A lot of work in the inner thighs, just feeling nice, feeling some length. Finish that last one. And then just bring yourself back to a stationary posture. Start to work the feet back underneath of you. Heel toeing. And then you can turn to face the front of your mat again, or you can stay where you are. Feet plant, we start to think about the tree pose on the other side. So if you can't remember which side you just did, just try it. Your body will talk to you. It'll tell you, hey, you just did that leg. Get your hands where they feel comfortable. Start to move the foot maybe into a place of challenge. Maybe it comes a little higher. And then just as I said before, the focus goes away from your screen. No longer looking at your phone, your tablet, your computer. I want your eyes to go higher. Send them above that screen, really reaching the heart up towards the ceiling, feeling the length in your spine. You've got this. But also understanding that the trees sway in the breeze. We may not always be perfect in these standing postures. We may need to come down and reset, shake it off. Remembering that learning to bend with the breezes of life is one of the most important things that we can learn. Relax those shoulders, taking your time to feel connected to the ground, connected to the spine, connected to the breath. When the body feels ready, these hands might rejoin the heart, bringing this knee forward and giving yourself that opportunity to take that kick again. Forward and back. Let it match your breath. And if you need to do a little cheater and look for a wall or look for a chair, you certainly can. This is your practice, so if that's where you need to be today, be there. The next time that leg returns itself back down, we'll step feet wide again on the mat. This time being intentional with that wide stance. It's not as loose as we did last time. We'll see about turning our right toes towards the ball to that side. Take a decent bend in this knee so that we look like we're doing warrior two. Check your arms, make sure they're not flying all over the place, get them nice and even. Flip your front hand, the one facing your right knee, let it lean away from that side. Bring yourself back to warrior two. Side angle comes in here, should feel very familiar to your lunging you just did. Bring yourself back through one more time, dance it on. Back through. Beautiful work, bringing yourself back. Let's take triangle. Front knee straightens, front hand reaches forward first, looking at that hip crease, and then tip into that triangle shape. Remembering we're trying our best not to lower the shoulder down. See if you can keep that shoulder nice and open, even if it means sacrificing a little bit on that front knee. Beautiful. Hand that's in the air takes a big sweeping motion to help us back up. And then just switch. Take your time, turning the feet. So now we're in warrior two, other direction. Settling into that warrior two, front hand takes a flip, reverse. Imagining the feeling of the sun on your body as you reach this hand up and over. Really feel the light. Beautiful. Bringing it back to that warrior two, flipping front hand, lean away, length, and then back. Excellent work. Just taking your time. I love being able to see those of you doing this Zoom with us today, watching your bodies move alongside mine. Put yourself back into that warrior two shape. Front knee straightens. We'll hinge at that hip crease, reaching hand forward. Tip yourself down to take triangle again on this side. Knowing if we need to sacrifice that front knee a little bit, if we need to taper off, pull our chest back up a little, all of those are options. Avoiding dropping the shoulder down towards earth, really focusing on opening up through the chest. Excellent work. Hand that's in the sky, let it kind of circle you back up. Plant into one more warrior, gazing over that front hand. And then hands are going to drop. Turning the toes forward, wide fold. Hands reaching up towards the ceiling. Maybe a gentle bend in the knees if you need it as you start to fold down, hands looking for the floor. Letter A in Ashtanga, a nice option for a forward fold here. Knowing that you can also take hands wider, looking for the outer edges of your feet, looking for your big toes. If this all feels too big, hands can be on your kind of the tops of your thighs. You don't have to drop your heart as low. Or if you're looking for something a little bit more, you can always walk the heels of your hands a little bit deeper underneath as the crown of the head looks for the ground. Now it may touch, it may not. Knowing that the end game is not really where the focus should be. Just take your time. All right, friends, as you feel ready, start to bring your hands back more under center. I'm going to walk my feet in just slightly so they're a little bit easier to work with. And then bring myself up for a half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach hands high above the head. See if we can make kind of an X shape with your arms. And then sigh to bring these hands down to your sides. Feet finish walking themselves the rest of the way underneath of us. And then just put the feet in position of kind of a number 11 shape. Toes pointing forward up the mat, hands resting down on either side, seeing if we can illustrate that same mountain pose. Closing the eyes, take yourself back to that same visualization you found earlier on your back. How does it feel different now that you're standing? How can we heighten the senses right here? What do you feel with the body? What do you see? What do you taste? What can you smell? Next natural inhale allows these hands to look for height one more time up above the head. And then as you exhale, instead of folding, we're just going to drop ourselves down into a little ball. Maybe the head falls down towards the knees. Depending on what your balance looks like today, you might even be able to bring hands up off the floor. Hug around the fronts of the knees and just balance on the balls of your feet. From here, hands will come to ground. Weight is going to shift forward towards your knees. If you need a blanket underneath those knees, feel free to reach for it as you lift the spine nice and tall. Exhale, bring the hands to your heart. Now you have a couple options with your feet behind you here. I'm going to turn sideways just for a moment so you can see what my legs are doing. You can have your toes flat to the mat. You can have your toes curled under. It's going to be up to you. We're going to take the right arm and let it do a little swimming here. So the right arm's going to reach up towards the ceiling. And then just take its time to slowly curl and backstroke back towards our feet. And we're not taking full camel today because we haven't done a lot of heart opening poses. This is a more modified version. You don't want to take us into something too big. Opposite arm might lift if it likes. So this gets us kind of a twisted camel. Perfect. Bring that hand down. Stroking opposite arm forward. There we go. And then rotate it one more time. Opposite arm takes that back stroke. Looking for the inside of that foot. I'm not even touching today. I'm not trying to send wrenching pains into my low back. I'm just trying to provide a little variety and opening in my side body. Sometimes we have these visions of what the poses are supposed to look like, and we think we're only doing it if we're in that full shape, and that's not true. Final option, both hands might lift. They might turn at the palms and backstroke back towards those heels again, maybe touching, maybe not. Or just soften, bring hands right here to your low back. Lift through the heart up towards the ceiling. Now, depending on where your back is today and how you're feeling, you might be taking something bigger than I'm modeling. That is okay. Depending on how your back is feeling, you might be doing something smaller. Again, that is okay. Head coming back to center if you've had your chin lifted, slowly allowing those hands to break free of the ankles. And then just use a nice full inhale to sweep hands up and then fold. Hips start to sit slowly towards heels. Take your time. Let the back relax. You might widen your knees here to take yourself into more of a widening child's pose. Surrender that forehead to the ground if it feels good, or make yourself a little tower of fist to place your forehead on. Let the belly feel heavy right down through the middle. Depending on where your hands have been, maybe they stretch back up the mat. We start to walk them towards the right edge of the mat, sitting a little bit more to the left side. And then take your time. Hands start to walk over to other side. Sit in opposite edge of the hip. Softening the arms if you need it, reaching if you need it, depending on what the body's still asking for. Hands start to walk back towards center. Now, a little bit atypical of what we often do in class, we're going to transition here up to knees, and then we're going to go to belly, and then we'll move from belly just to your savasana, over to your back. So if you want any kind of props for savasana while you're on your hands and knees, now would be the time to reach for a blanket, or if you know you like blocks or a bolster or a pillow, get all of that handy so that when you do flip from your belly to your back, you don't have to reach real far to grab any of that. We'll take our time here. I'm going to go ahead and put myself in a nice half plank just to put a little bit more in my arm strength today. As I exhale, I'm going to lower down to the earth, keeping those elbows nice and close to my body, letting the belly rest into the ground. My left arm's immediately going to come serve as a pillow as I bend my right knee and start to reach back with my right hand to make connection with the top of my foot. Hugging that heel down in towards my glute. Head might turn to the side, or forehead might rest on the elbow or on the arm, down into the earth. Now, if you can't quite make full connection here, it's okay. Just bend the knee, let this hand hang out on the side of the body, and just focus on your breath. Focus on settling everything back into place. We don't always have to be making these strong connections. Of course, if you have kind of loose pants on and you can grab at your legging or at your pants, sometimes that's a nice modification as well. From this space, let that foot go nice and long down the mat, and then switch sides. Opposite arm coming as a pillow. Other knee bends, opposite hand reaches back, maybe making connection. You see I'm grabbing on the outer edge of my foot. Remembering that you can grab at your pant leg, or just let this hand hang back in that general direction if you can't make full physical contact. Resting there on the belly, let the forehead feel heavy. Let your kind of pelvis, your belly, your hips, your legs, everything feel like it's just blending down into the earth. Perfect. Releasing from that, go ahead and just let your body feel full of weight dropping down into the ground. Maybe bending at the heels, bending at the knees rather, bringing those heels up towards the earth. You might have a little sway right to left with those knees, with the feet. Settling the low back into place. And then when you feel ready, the option is here. We're just going to start to roll ourselves over to our backside. Reaching for whatever props might feel necessary. Settling down into your final rest. Now you probably don't feel completely over yet. If you need some gentle movements here, feel free to embrace those. A spinal twist, a knees to chest, happy baby, elevated legs to ceiling. Take your time. Most of you know that my style always leaves kind of some empty, or unanswered, open-ended, I guess is what I'm looking for, questions for you at the end of your practice. I personally like, when I go take a class, to have this window of time to just kind of work through anything else that's kind of talking to me. Honestly, I think that's where your practice becomes more your own. Those times of self-exploration, the times of just listening to those inner voices that are telling you, yep, why don't you try this pose next? Or let's move our leg here, let's stretch this there. When you start listening to that, that's when this becomes yoga. You're not just following along with the perfect cues. You're really starting to see this as a healing therapeutic practice that's independent of me, and really about you. So just explore any final movements that feel like they need to happen. And if no movement is what the body is saying, that of course is an option as well. Final rest might look like legs long down the mat, heels planted on the earth, but let your toes roll towards the outer edges. Hands might come equidistance away from the hips with the palms flipped to ceiling, putting the back of the head in the ground, but kind of lifting up the chest and letting the shoulder blades fall off to the sides. Letting the weight of your head feel heavy on the ground. And let's take ourselves back to that place of visualization. We've been there twice so far. Let's see if we can visit one more time. Is anything different here today? In this moment, is that place of visualization, that safe place in nature, that beautiful landscape, does it feel any different? For me, there's a little bit of peace in the air, a little more calmness here. Before I saw a whirling breeze, before I felt the waves crashing, now everything seems a little quieter. See if with your imagination you can visualize this space a little quieter. See what colors you can notice, what sounds you can hear, maybe even what texture the ground might have underneath of your feet or beneath your back. If you were to just lay down in this landscape you have imagined. Let the breath feel nice and steady or slow, subtle. Let your body become part of this landscape that you have imagined. And stay within that space for a few more breaths. Allowing your body, your mind, your spirit to all feel in harmony with nature. When it is time, I will call you back to close class. So feel free to surrender to this moment. Let the body rest down on the earth. Let everything sift, settle back into place. Slowly starting to bring a little awareness back into the body. Your movements back from your savasana should be slow and easy. Maybe you find a slight movement, wiggling of the fingers, wiggling of the toes. Maybe your head starts to sway a little bit right and left. The breath starts to be a little more focused and controlled. And we'll start to close the practice by bringing those knees in, rolling to your right hand side, maybe even using your right arm as a pillow, resting there for just a few moments. And then we'll return back to seat, just easy and slowly when you feel ready. Coming back up to that seated posture, hands coming to the heart, perhaps palm to palm, pressing the thumbs in towards the chest. Spine becomes tall, breath becomes your main focus as your eyes are gently closed. Oh goodness, today's final reading. This is a good one. Today's final reading is entitled Patience. Patience is the companion of wisdom. St. Augustine. We live in an impatient world. We tap our feet nervously, bite our lips, jiggle the keys in our hand. We don't like to wait. We don't wait graciously. When something is bothering us, we want an answer now, not later. We rush into solutions that we haven't thought out well. Wisdom is like bread dough. It needs time to rise. I don't expect everything to happen right this moment, even though sometimes I wish it would. Patience is the companion of wisdom. St. Augustine. Today's final reading came from this book. I greatly appreciate you taking this time for yourself, not only for your physical body, which is often why we roll out the mat, but giving us that time for our mind, our spirit, everything to just settle back into place. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again. Namaste.